Hello world, and thank you for joining another Swagga Review. Today we're going to talk about net neutrality, and specifically how the FCC repealed the rules on net neutrality. These rules were implemented in 2015 under the Obama administration. What is net neutrality? Net neutrality is basically protection rules that were set in place to prevent ISPs from tailoring rates based on the type of content or data or media that is coming across its internet pipes. And additionally, it required a regulation by the government of the quality of the bandwidth that's delivered to certain areas. Now, I believe it's important to note that these rules were not put in place until 2015, and the internet has grown fairly successfully up until that point in time. We haven't seen any signs of any growth changes since then. Now, you're going to have proponents such as Netflix and other content providers that are concerned that there may be an increase in charges when their services are used. You may see some concerns that they may get priced out because it's not cost prohibitive for a Comcast or someone else to offer their own streaming services as compared to a vendor such as Hulu or Netflix or CBS All Access or any of the other number of providers that are available out there. However, you have to realize that the ISPs still service customers. They still have to keep their customers happy, their customer base happy, and additionally, they're always looking for more customers. So they're eventually, if not expediently, going to get to all areas of the country so that they can provide the best service possible to make their customers happy and ultimately pay for those services. From that last statement, you can tell that I am not a proponent for or against net neutrality, and I don't think it's going to make all that big a difference. I do see the benefits of adding a few protections, however, not at the cost of limiting what businesses can do and having the government be the form of regulation of this. Some regulation is fine, sometimes it is needed. However, the internet is something that has kind of grown spontaneously on its own. It's spurred by creative thinkers and the apps and the content and different things that they provide. And so in that regards, I think that the fact that there's a customer-provider relationship will be all the driving force that's needed in order for net neutrality to not be a concern. I also think that as an ISP, you might have the right to make adjustments to what you're charging if you have a customer that's paying for a certain type of bandwidth versus another type of bandwidth. Here's what I mean by that. Not all data is equal. If you send across streaming services for video versus a flat file would be a typical document, or if you do different types of communication, all that data that flows across the wire between your location or your business to the internet, because we're only speaking about internet traffic, require different levels of regulation, not from the government, not from your provider, but the laws of how data moves across the internet or across networks. So not all data has the same tolerances or threshold. So you might need to adjust for that. And someone may be using more of those resources than the next person. And if there's a consistent pattern of this, you may want to adjust the infrastructure that you provide in that area of town, in that part of the country, so that you can support them. And because their infrastructure is different, you might want to charge a premium for that quality of service. Not all areas are equal. Not all areas for designing internet are the same. The resources, the environment, how it's implemented, the regulation for installing and setting up in these locations are all different. And so sometimes pricing may be a little bit different. We have to let businesses be competitive in the marketplace in order to get some of those goals accomplished. Again, if this was a rule that had been in place for 15 years, how the internet kind of came about, and we were to change this, I'd be a little bit more concerned. However, putting those rules in place, I believe, was a little bit out of fear and concern about what might come versus what we actually had signs of coming, to the point where there might be an epidemic. These rules can always be put back in place, they can always be adjusted, they can always be brought back to life with a different administration. I understand the fear, but we're not talking about the Bill of Rights or Constitution or anything of that nature. This is an FCC rule. Those rules change, not all the time, but frequently, and they can always be changed back if something goes wrong. I know some people don't want an after-action responsibility to that. However, sometimes that's what we have to have, although I don't believe that that's what we're going to need in this case. Anyways, that's my opinion about net neutrality. That's my opinion about the FCC repeal of those rules. And thank you for checking out another Swagga review. If you like this opinion, please let me know. If you differ with my opinion, please comment below. Anyways, we thank you for coming by, and we'll see you again real soon.